Are we ready? Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the meeting to order at 7:05. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I'd like to thank everyone for coming tonight, and those of you in the audience or watching at home may notice that we have an additional person sitting on the stage with us tonight. So school committee member Diane Nobles is going to give an introduction.
Well, on behalf of the entire school committee, I'd like to introduce our inaugural student representative to the Narragansett School Committee, Maya DeAngelis. Maya was selected from a very competitive group of applicants that our recently retired Principal Warner and I interviewed last spring. It was a very difficult decision to make. However, Maya was chosen to pioneer this new position. Maya is a rising senior at Narragansett High School who is a very well-rounded student. She excels academically, athletically, and has demonstrated leadership abilities during her high school years. We look forward to getting to know Maya better and to working with her as she shares with us the sentiments of the student body in her new role as liaison. So congratulations and welcome aboard.
And I will just bounce off of that. And I just want to extend a very warm welcome to you. And to build off of everything that Diane has said, I just want to give a soundbite of just how monumental this moment is. In 2020, I ran under the platform that I represented a student's voice, a Narragansett High School graduate, someone who grew up in the Narragansett school system. I believed strongly that it was not only important, it was necessary to have a student's perspective at school committee meetings, to hear directly from someone who has experienced the other side of the decision-making, someone who could provide a unique perspective to the conversations and when it came time to reviewing policy. Taking it a step further, I am beyond proud of the Narragansett School Committee who unanimously approved the addition of the new position of student representative to the school committee during our last term. This is validation that every member on this committee advocates for hearing from students directly and that we work hard for all students. I want to extend a special thank you to Diane, our policy review and selection committees who worked tirelessly to create this policy and to select our very first student representative. Congratulations to Maya and to her family for this truly historic moment, for being the first student representative for your peers in Narragansett, and for helping to pave the way for a brighter future that is full of dialogue, participation, and collaboration. I look forward to working with you, and thank you for accepting this position to serve the Narragansett Public Schools and the town of Narragansett. And we have a pin that is official to all members who are serving on a town committee, and we're presenting that with you.
Maya, is there anything that you would like to say?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you. I'm beyond excited. This is such like a memorable moment, and I'm like flabbergasted that I get to experience it.
Wonderful. Well, we're very excited. And while Maya is not a voting member, so Maya, you don't have to worry. When we make a motion and we're moving that motion, you don't have to worry about aye or nay. You're not a voting member, but we do want to hear your voice. So if there's any topics on tonight's meeting, whether it's the school handbook for the high school or the calendar, if you have a question or a comment, just, give a little wave or just make sure, especially if I don't see you, you can tap Jen or you can, give a wave. Because if, there's no silly questions. If you have a question or a comment on any item, you can. And then we will have the superintendent and the high school principal touch base with you about whether Maya will give a student report once school opens. Whatever you and the high school principal decide, we'll figure that out. But We always want to hear from you, and so Jen, that's your job. If Maya's trying to say something and I'm over here talking to Pete, let me know. All right, so with that, is there a motion to seal the executive session minutes from tonight?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 5-0. And tonight, in executive session, we did vote to approve 14 homeschooling requests, and that passed 5-0. It's now time for open forum. Is there anyone that would like to speak? Sure, come on up and just state your name, please.
Good evening. Gina Jarama. Congratulations, Maya. So nice to see you up there. Good evening. I'd like to talk to you guys about mental health. I stood before you a year ago at this very meeting and asked how things were going. The data that perhaps you had collected from change of school time and how that might have impacted mental health. Also, the fact that there was federal funds that were given to the district and how that might have been used to help students with their social and emotional challenges. And so over the course of the year, I kept abreast of what was happening, and I never really saw anything going on, particularly at the high school. And the ruler training that Dr. Cummings mentioned last summer, I didn't know if that actually happened or if that went away or something, but I'm really concerned with the state of mental illness, that it just keeps rising, and the school's ability to manage it is so difficult because it's so diverse, and it doesn't look the same for everyone. And so my concern continues to be how is the Narragansett School Department going to continue to support all students and staff in their mental health journeys, because that is changing every day, and I'm sort of losing hope because I can't see the outcomes. And so for particularly the high school, I want to give a shout out to the peer-to-peer group because they did a lot of work in getting mental health awareness, but that was all I saw. And I know that my own children would say things and I would go, okay, so what can you do? What can you do? And so students were doing things. But I'm concerned that the district isn't taking it seriously enough, and I want to continue to voice that until I really feel like there's a serious embedded practice, more than just social emotional learning. Social emotional learning is part of our addressing mental illness, but not just social emotional learning alone. That's not enough. And so I hope that that's something that you guys can look at. And the data, again, the data. I don't know if you're looking at data from start of school time, COVID-related information, all of that data plays a role in how you guys can make policies and decisions. So I appreciate if you would take that seriously. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Is there anyone else that would like to speak for open forum? Okay, all right, we are moving on to oral reports, starting with the school committee. Do any school committee members have a report to give? Probably not. Oh, Diane, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Diane.
Well, it's just a very short one. I viewed the online Attorney General's annual summit on open government, and where the speakers review the access to public records law and the open meetings law that we all operate under.
Great, thank you, Diane. Alex, nothing, because it's summer, right? Okay, great. All right, so we're moving on to the superintendent's report. Dr. Cummings?
Great, thank you, Tammy. So we are excited to be preparing for opening, and see our administrative team is here. We've been working diligently all summer to make sure that everything is smooth and ready to go. So we have over 20 new hires this year that will most likely come to our meeting in September. We're really excited about the strength of the staff that we have brought on board. We have a series of retirements in the spring. And so, we're taking teachers at various levels of experience. Some extremely well-regarded teachers from other districts have chosen to come to Narragansett. So we are truly happy to have them and grateful that they will be joining us. We've had a lot of summer training in various aspects, so I appreciate Gina bringing up the ruler training. So we've had teams trained at both the middle school and the high school, so they'll be working on that with the Yale Center for Emotional Health, and so that will be part of what's happening at both the middle school and the high school. We also, again, have new schedules going in at both the middle school and the high school that hopefully should help our students get more electives. I've looked at all of the schedules, all the student schedules at both places, so I'm really excited for the opportunities our students will have. Students have a plethora of electives, their core classes, as well as some downtime during the school day to be able to get their work done and do some different pieces. So we are excited about that. Our new hires do include a new school psychologist for the high school, so an additional school psychologist for the high school. So we're one of the only schools in the state that will have 2 psychologists at our high school. Gail and her team have been working really hard to prepare our PD days along with our principals. So we have 3 professional development days coming up next week. And so our new teachers begin on Friday, they continue on Monday, and the rest of the staff comes on Tuesday. That PD will include some overall kind of teaching and learning PD at the building level, as well as some work with students who need emotional supports. Dr. Denton is bringing in a national expert on that to work with staff. We're also going to be doing some security training as well. And all staff will have the opportunity to get trained in the Stop the Bleed program, which is really kind of, if there's traumatic first aid needed, all staff will have the opportunity to get trained in that. The facilities look absolutely amazing, so thanks to Steve Gormley and his crew. So they're wrapping up some of the pieces, but new paving at the high school, lots of interior work at all of the schools. So we are excited about that. The wiring project is going forward that we approved at the beginning of the summer. Finally, we're really happy that Chris has gotten on board and has been meeting many members of the community. So we're excited for that. And I'd like to officially welcome Emily into her interim role as middle school principal. So congratulations to Emily Chartier for her role as middle school principal.
Pete, what's the approximate timeline when the auditorium will mostly be finished?
Oh, that project. So my apologies for not mentioning that. So we are still waiting, and it should be mid-September, for the HVAC unit to arrive, for it to be air conditioned, but we will be able to use the auditorium for our convocation. So it's going to be able to, won't be fully air conditioned, but it will be ready for use at the beginning of the school year.
So the new seats are in there?
They are, they're beautiful.
Can you take a picture and send it to us?
I will.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions for Dr. Cummings?
Just looking forward to attending the first concerts and first shows at the auditorium. Can't wait to see it.
They've done a great job. It looks really nice. We're really excited for it.
All right, thank you. So we are moving on to the consent agenda. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve consent agenda items CA1A, CA2A, and CA2B?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to the budget report. Karen?
Expenditures for the first month of our new fiscal year total $2,818,403. That's 7.77% of our budget. Our expenditures and encumbrances for the month of July total $29,432,406, and that's 81.18% of our budget.
Any questions for Karen?
Just a general question for the public. When we're moving around budget buckets, basically, of where funding is going, is there like a general thought process that goes into which buckets we're pulling from? So it's not significantly impacting things that we've budgeted for?
So we really work on, that's the budgeting process, right?
Right.
And so, we plan for as much of that as we can. So the majority, almost all of our expenses are pre-budgeted, right, from where they're coming from. And Karen has a whole program called UCOA, right, that tracks all of that spending and what line item that has come from. So when we're going through our budgeting process and we have all of those line items, right, that's really showing us where it's designated for. But also recall that we're budgeting in November for
Right.
things that are almost a year away.
Yep.
And so at times, situations change or numbers will change, and in that case, we do a transfer. All those transfers are recorded and approved, and so that tracks. It was originally intended for X, Y line item. That line item maybe, didn't cost as much as was first anticipated, but something else costs a little bit more than was anticipated, and then a transfer happens, and that goes over between those two line items.
Yeah, understood. I appreciate that explanation. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions for Karen or Pete? Okay. So we're on to school committee business. Item number 1. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the 23-24 district-wide student handbook for the Narragansett school system?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion.
So I thought I would have each one of the principals just come up and very briefly give just a very quick overview of how they use the handbook, any major changes that they may want to mention, all right? And so I don't know if anyone wants to
You
volunteer
want
to
to,
go
let's go
first.
elementary, then middle, then high school?
Sounds great.
Okay. Hi, Lisa.
Good evening, everybody. So I think you'll notice from the changes in my edits for this particular, there was very little change happening in our yearbook. I did have to take a look at our ELA since we are purchasing a new resource, or we purchased a new resource and in utilizing a new resource aligned to the right to read legislation. So that was a change under our curriculum area. Overall, mostly I refer to the handbook when I have conversations with parents and with students regarding just overall expectations. And basically, I use that as a piece of information for parents if they're curious as to what we're doing at the elementary school, just in general. It's pretty comprehensive. I think it's easy to read and understand, and gives a general overlook of what Narragansett Elementary School is all about. Does anyone have any questions?
I have a couple just general questions. So is this handbook signed by the parents?
And there is in the back page, I believe, for all parents to sign it and return the signed page. Yes.
Is that something that's checked?
Yes.
Okay. And is it signed by staff as well, the staff handbook?
No, we have a staff handbook that is different.
Right.
Yes.
Just want to make sure. Yeah. I mean, there's just some things in here that really pertain to staff, so I was curious to see if they sign as well.
They do not sign that handbook, they sign the staff handbook.
Okay.
Any other questions for the elementary school?
All right, thank
All
you
right,
very
thank
much.
you. All
We
right.
do review the handbook with staff, by the way, so they do have access to it as well.
All right, thank you. On to the peer school. Come on up. If you can just give us a soundbite if there's any major changes or similar to last year.
Good evening. So there aren't any really major changes with the peer school handbook, other than we did add in some language for a makeup policy. It's really a guideline for parents, teachers, and students. And you can see that it's to the discretion of the teacher. So if the teacher feels necessary that the student needs additional time, they can go beyond the days listed with that makeup policy. Other than that change, there really isn't anything huge that has changed in our handbook. And as far as to address the other question as how we use it, we do review this with our students and staff. It does go home to parents. Parents do have the opportunity to sign the handbook, as Ms. Wilson did say, with their students. And We refer to this often when we're having conversations with students and parents around discipline or policies that might be in play, or if there are any academic procedures that they need to be aware of. With athletics being at the peer school, we do refer to that piece quite often because students are beginning to learn how to be a student athlete, and it's really important for us to be cognizant of that and for them to be aware of those changes as they are representing us in the peer school.
All right, any questions for the peer school?
I had one, just in regards to detention, is that something that's served after school?
Detention is oftentimes after school. We do have that in the office. Sometimes it is assigned by administration. Sometimes teachers will do it in their space. We also do have opportunities for students to have a time away from their peers during lunch as well. We try to really think about what was going on and what consequence might be appropriate for what infraction might have occurred.
I'm just curious as to the late bus and if that's set up for equitable transportation for the middle schoolers.
So we did institute a late bus policy that we will be continuing this year, where students are going to have to sign ahead of time. With detentions, we do give 24-hour notice, and we do call parents so that they are aware of that. So we would automatically add them to the late bus list at that time.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
And just one other thing about the suspension. I don't know if this is probably a Dr. Cummings comment. Can you talk to just a little bit about the laws of suspension in Rhode Island? Because they've changed a little bit.
They
right?
have. So, essentially, the laws in Rhode Island cover when a student is a danger to themselves, a danger to others, or is seriously disruptive to the educational process to the point where, others cannot learn. Then they can be suspended, but they do need to be provided with work and resources for learning while they are out of school. Our goal really is to, ideally, we would not have to suspend at all. Sometimes there are periods where people need a cooling off period or they need a reset, and we really look at suspension from that lens, not as much exclusionary as trying to give people time to reset so that we can get them back into school. If we do have kids that do need to be suspended out of school, we do provide work and resources for them as necessary. When students are suspended for an in-school day, which is really, if we have to, what we would rather do, again, there are educational resources and staff available to them.
Any other questions for the peer school? All right, thank you.
Thank
All right,
you.
on to the high school. Thank you. Any questions for the high school?
No, I do want to just emphasize, though. I'm sorry, Alex. Go
No,
ahead.
that's all right. You can go ahead. Mine's just a comment.
One of the data points that we have from the high school is, we do have a number of kids that are chronically absent. And, those are students who we try to give a lot of supports to. I appreciate the high school administrative team has spent a lot of time this summer thinking about different ways that they can support those students and families and make sure that they're getting to school as much as possible. Some of the language changes you see in here are intended to enhance that effort, and they are going to have really an absence team this year where they're really going to be doing some deep dives with families around what's getting in the way of them getting to school.
And I would just say, welcome and appreciate the first official report that you are presenting in front of this school committee. And just to really appreciate the amount of care and time that took into creating all of the guidelines and expectations at the high school especially, and the improvement, the goals for improved communication, and all of what I'm seeing here on credit recovery is, really going to go a long way, and families are really going to open up to this, and I know it's going to be really well appreciated. So thank you to all who were involved in creating this.
I have a question. This is just a general question for anybody. And I should also probably know the answer to this. But with like COVID and how more cases are coming back, is it still you have to be quarantined for 5 days before coming back to school?
That's a great question. So I don't know,
That is a
Pete,
great
if you can
question.
answer.
So we are still awaiting guidance from the Department of Health. So I wish I could answer it more clearly. Right now, the guidance is really that you can return to school when you're not infectious, is the last time they sent that out. So that's the last guidance that we had. And so I am anticipating learning some more from the Department of Health in the next couple of weeks. And so I can share that as soon as I know.
Sounds good.
Are there any other questions from any school committee members about any of the student handbook components?
No, I'd also just add that it's, this is a very well thought out, very thorough handbook. Just reading through it was just mind blowing of like, you guys have thought of everything. And, even when it comes to the excused absences, I know COVID was listed on there. And I know that the district does everything they can to accommodate those students and families who may be affected by COVID or have any unexpected reasons for absences that come up, and we work with them. So, thank you.
Any other final questions? Great. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes 5-0. On to business item number 2. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the 23-24 employee handbook for the Narragansett school system?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
So the employee handbook is a project that we were trying to get done before COVID hit. Then COVID kind of blew it to smithereens. And so we're trying to get back to that. And it's a pretty standard document in any organization. And what it is really meant to do is to organize in one place all the various policies and procedures and practices that an employee would need to have in order to kind of live their basic life within the school system. So it covers everything from dress code to absences to what do you do on a snow day to kind of all of the confidentiality, kind of all of those different pieces. And so, we work closely, and I'm appreciative to both of our unions, our teachers union and our support staff union, who worked with me and with Emily Sweeney and with Karen on this pretty closely. And so, again, it's really nothing new in this that we don't already do, but it brings it all together into one place. So we wanted the school committee to just kind of view this and kind of put their stamp of approval on it as it kind of embodies the conditions of employment while you are in Narragansett, along with our teacher contract and our support staff contract.
Any questions for Pete about the employee handbook?
And I already know this, but this is a brand new thing, right, for Narragansett?
Correct.
And is there a specific due date that the staff is expected to sign this by? I saw the other ones.
First couple weeks of school.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Any other questions about the staff handbook? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to business item number 3. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the 23-24 bus routes for the Narragansett school system?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Do you want to come on up, Derek, in case there's any questions from the school committee?
So I'd like to thank Derek and his team for their excellent work in balancing all of the routes. It feels like they just get a route done and then someone else moves or we got a new student. And so they've worked really hard. We had a number of routes last year, particularly in the lower grades, that weren't working, for various behavioral or time on the bus or other reasons, some bad or combustible mixes of students at times. So Derek took it upon himself to kind of split up some routes. And so Route 4 is no more, is that right? So
Yeah, Route 4, Route 1, and a little bit of Route 2 have been moved around and kind of changed a bit. There's no more Route 4. We have a Route 5,
right,
which is most of Route 4 with a few
changes.
helpful changes.
Right, and he's also reassigned staff to different routes, so we are hoping for a positive start to the school year on the buses.
Pete, so how and when can parents get this information? Like, is it on the website yet or not yet?
If you'd be good enough to approve it tonight, we can have it on the website probably by the end of the week. And it's set upon approval to be sent to the Narragansett Times tomorrow.
They still go old school
They still
and
do, yeah.
print
Yeah.
the bus routes in one of the editions of the hard copy paper? How about that?
Yep, I mean, the
Wow.
website's able to be updated, so as the weeks go
Okay,
on, I
yeah.
check with the website.
Yeah. All right. So do any members have any questions about any of the bus routes?
I just have a comment. I just wanted to thank you, Derek, for really looking into this and making some needed changes that affected, I know, the elementary school. Just one comment about, buses and, everything in this world I feel like is, time to the nth degree, even the GPS and such. And just with, busing is definitely not easy. I wanted to comment just that last year we ran into a lot of construction issues that I believe the town wasn't as forward with us that we needed to be, and you were able to really kind of get all the kids there on time. So thank you for being able to do that and having the communication open. That was very impressive. So I just, as we go forward, this bus thing, when we meet with the town, that is just something just to keep our eye on, is that communication piece with the town. And when they're going to be doing construction on the road, I mean, I walked into my business today and couldn't get in there because there were two different things going on there. So I think the town piece just needs to be in here. But thank you so much for that. This is hard. This is a hard thing to do. There's, like Peter said last year, there's always an issue with busing. So thank you for doing that.
Any other questions or comments about the bus routes?
I'd just also echo the same sentiments about just, this is not something that you can just do 1 year and let it go for the next 3 years. This is something that's, I certainly have understood with many conversations that that this is very formulaic. There's a lot of time and energy and stress that goes into this. And, when we went down to 2 routes, there was a lot of things that had to be taken into consideration. And, I'm very pleased looking through this, just how thorough and well thought out it was, very well organized. And, I also understand that each school will likely give a little bit of flexibility with the understanding that if, a bus is running a little late to school, that it won't count as a tardy or anything like that. This is about as thorough that I've ever seen. So, again, my hat's off to you.
Yeah.
One of the things I do want to front and just remind everyone, and the space of a year makes us forget this every year, okay, is that, early in the year, it is still summer season, right, for lots of, families from outside of Narragansett. Our roads are still very crowded. And when you add to that for our middle school and high school, common arrival and dismissal times, right, with new drivers and new routines, typically the first 2 weeks or 2 to 3 weeks, it is very congested for the arrival and for the dismissal, and in particular at dismissal time, people get very frustrated. And so I'm just going to make an appeal for us all to recognize that it's lots of new drivers, lots of new routines. It is going to be congested. Just account for that in your planning, and that it will smooth out over time. We do work closely with the Narragansett Police to make it as smooth as possible. We do have officers directing traffic at the entrances of the schools. We do kind of plan for that, and we do kind of put out notices to families to say, buses are going to be running a little bit late in the afternoon, or they might be arriving a little bit late in the morning due to that congestion. I will also remind everyone that on the first day of school, we try our very hardest to stay to our estimated times. There are lots of hugs on the first day of school, and that sometimes makes our, which we support, but but that sometimes makes our buses run a little bit behind on the first day, especially at the elementary level. Not so many hugs at the middle and high school level, but again, we all try to be patient as that moves forward.
It's also the first day of school for URI, and the URI kids are still going to their 8 o'clock class the first week of school, so they adds to the traffic. But, go ahead, Diane.
Derek, I remember last year we were having some problems filling positions. How does it look this year for our drivers and monitors?
I have two new bus drivers, and one new van driver to start the year. We have a couple new monitors. I still have openings for monitors. If anybody asks, anybody wants to come chat, send them down. But we're in much better position than we were this time last year.
So you're all set with drivers, you just need some monitors?
Yes.
Thank you.
So I just have a thank you to you, Derek. This was a lot of work. We really appreciate it. And please extend a thank you to the bus drivers and the bus monitors, because everything starts with them. All the work that everyone's doing starts with that first touch that our students have with an adult, and we appreciate them. So please pass that on to them, and we wish them a great opening first week.
I will, thank you.
Okay. So motion on the floor about the bus routes. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. On to item number 4. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the date change for the 23-24 Narragansett school system school calendar?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Pete, can you let us know what change you're referring to in this motion?
Sure. So on the statewide calendar, RIDE initially put out April 23rd as the statewide PD day. They then subsequently changed that to April 2nd. And so we are simply reflecting a change in the statewide calendar to match the other districts in the state. Right, so we're moving the PD day from April 23rd, which is after vacation, to April 2nd, which is before vacation.
So we have 2 calendars in our packet. In the upper right-hand corner, it says the previous version, the old one, and then the one that is stamped is the new one. So no change in the start date or the end date or school vacations, just a swap with that PD day?
Correct. And I believe, Lauren, that coincides with the statewide primary? Yes. So with the presidential primary.
Right. Any questions from any members about the calendar date change?
Just a brief one. Just to reiterate, we're still in line with like the local districts and everything as we try to be. Yeah.
Yes.
All right.
Any other questions? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. And on to the last business item. Is there a motion to accept the recommendation of the superintendent to approve the district's participation with the town of Narragansett in the Rhode Island Municipal Education Compact?
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Pete, can you give everyone just kind of very quick high-level soundbite about what this is?
Sure. So the town and the town council has consented to take part in Governor McKee's program to support outside of school learning. And so this is not technically a school-based program. This is a town-based program, but we work in partnership with them to support their efforts. And so they are asking for your support of their resolution that they will engage with the state government and the governor's office in creating outside of school learning opportunities for students. And they have and participate in the in receiving grant funding to develop those outside of school learning opportunities. That's really still in the planning stage, so I can't really give you a lot of details in terms of what specifically that would look like right now. But certainly the town manager and the Parks and Rec director has will keep us in the loop as they think through that. And we will help them design programs that will help our students.
So we're really just kind of giving a sign of support and approval for the town council and the town to move forward with the plans, just that we're in agreement and support. We're not voting on any particular thing except for just consensus that we want them to continue move forward with planning and ideas.
Correct. So you're kind of approving their approved resolution, if that makes sense. All right, and kind of saying, the committee is signaling that you are in approval of the town seeking these funds in order to support kids outside of school learning.
I think that's so just like a good faith sign of support. This is kind of our opportunity. If 3 or more of us strongly disagreed with the concept, we'd have to go in a different direction and meet with them and learn more. This is just really keep moving forward.
Yeah, just to make, I'm sorry, just to make sure, like, so they haven't come up with a plan yet. We're just approving them trying to come up with a plan.
Correct.
Sorry, we're not approving them. We're showing our approval of them trying to come up with. Okay.
Correct.
And would that come back to us at some point, Peter, or do you think, or is that kind of?
So it is not a school committee
that's the thing, it's
grant
not a school
or area of responsibility. I'm certainly happy to keep you informed of the town's progress, right, as they develop programs and decide how they want to support the governor's effort in that way. But certainly it is not something that comes under either our programmatic or our financial responsibility.
Yeah, but the town probably wants us to keep it because they asked us to.
We work with them closely, and they're excellent partners, and so they certainly have been in close communication with us.
And it sounds like this will be a great agenda item for December when we have our annual early meeting with them. They can give us an update on, okay, in the last couple months, are we any further along with the planning?
Correct.
Right. So it's very vague at this point, just, we're kind of showing our support for the town council to continue in the town. Any questions or comments for Pete?
Yeah, I think this is definitely going to be, a work in progress for the understanding of what exactly it is that this entails. There's a lot of examples that are provided, but it lacks specificity. But I'm very much looking forward to working with the town council. We had a really good budget season just previously, and very much looking forward to working with them again as we look to capitalizing on this opportunity. So, my question again was very similar to Justin's. Was what exactly does this mean for the school district? Are we going to see any additional funds? But we've already approved the budget. This came afterwards, so just any and all opportunity that we can see that can benefit all students. All for.
Right, and it's really meant to be outside of school hours. It is not at all a school district grant or funding. We will see $0, from this, but certainly, we can act in support of the town as they try to create community programs that help the children of Narragansett.
So since we're not signatories, we're not going to be held accountable because there's 8 action items here. And I just want to make sure that it's not going to be coming back on us if it's not finished.
No, so it's not our accountability process. Again, it's a municipal grant, not an educational grant. And so therefore, the town side, we certainly are a planning partner with them because we know the schools and the families well, and so they draw on our expertise as a resource. But it is it's a municipal grant, so really is not a school-based thing. You are simply indicating that you approve of the town council seeking the funding to create more after-school opportunities for kids.
And I noticed it's not limited to students either, they mentioned adult learners.
I literally stole exactly what I was going to say, that this is here we are, big advocates that we're all students, all learners, and this is a great opportunity to further educate all members of the Narragansett school community. So, there's a lot of potential here. I would love to see the Narragansett staff and students benefit from this, and really look forward to seeing what the town council has planned and how they plan on utilizing this.
Peter, I had a question. This resolution was written by the town council, correct? This isn't verbiage that's coming directly from the state of Rhode Island.
Correct. That's my understanding, anyway.
So this isn't a statewide template? It's just,
I am sure that they got some guidance from the state, right, in terms of how they did it, but it was, I believe, a specific Narragansett resolution.
I guess the problem that I have I just want to point this out, is just the first statement, whereas Narragansett recognizes that improving educational outcomes is central to raising the incomes of those who live in our community. I think we have to just be careful as we move forward what type of resolution we support and the intent behind it and where it comes from. Legality, this is from the town of Narragansett. I support the town council. I don't think that there's any bad intentions behind it. But, when it comes to the grant money and all of that kind of thing, there's a difference, I guess is what I'm trying to say. This resolution to what the state is offering might not be exactly like what another town does, right? Because this isn't written specifically for each town. This is written for Narragansett.
Right. So it's my understanding, Jen, and I don't have a lot of detail on the sources of that.
Yeah.
Typically what happens is that you get a generalized template for something like this for a big statewide effort. So just looking at it, I would imagine the beginning probably came from a wider template, right? And then you kind of you tweak it to fit your community with some of the specifics.
Similar to how we do all of
Right.
Any other questions or comments? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes 5-0. Are there any communications that anyone wants to mention? All right, so we will be back here for our September, I
don't know if this is really communications, but I just wanted to shout out that the digital lab is up and running. I got word of that today or yesterday, so I'm super duper duper excited to see that, and I just think it's something that we need to celebrate coming into this year, and just all of the efforts behind that. So I'm excited.
It looks
I
really
feel like
great.
it's the night before
exciting.
Christmas. Yeah.
Congrats to Julio and to Brian for putting such hard work into that and getting it ready to go. So for our students that will be taking the digital information classes, it's a really exciting resource.
Sounds like a potential showcase idea to have, a presentation on that sometime this fall or early winter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Great, all right. All right, so we'll be back here September 20th for our regular business meeting at 7 o'clock. Is there a motion to adjourn at 7:53?
So moved.
second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have a good night, everyone.